Here on the Grace Raised podcast, we draw on our personal stories, examine the truth of God's Word, and identify the lies, false identities, and unbiblical beliefs that keep us from walking wholeheartedly in the power of our new life through the gift of grace in Jesus. Join us as we share what it is to walk in relationship with Jesus, where we discover new life in death and step into the supernatural power of God's grace and glory. Hello and welcome to the Grace Raised podcast. I am your host, Riah Jaffrey, and I am here with my special guest, Randi Wright. Hi, and I'm really excited to have you on here and to talk about your story. And I was hoping that you could just start by introducing yourself. Tell us who you are, maybe what you do, where you live, and where you go to church.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Randi Wright. We live here in Bangor. I go to church at the Rock Church. We actually go at the Hamden campus. I've served at all of our campuses. Actually, we started here at the Bangor campus, and then I went to the Old Town campus for a couple of years, and then we wanted to be on leadership. We felt strongly about going when it was going to be Holden, and then we knew it was going to be Hamden. So that's where we are there. And I'm on the leadership team there. I run our Next Steps team, and I also work for Rock School of Ministry. And what else do I do?
The homeschool group.
Right. I do help run our homeschool ministry here. I actually helped start it with my friend, which she mentioned the other day, and I forgot that was something I had brought up. And now we're over 100 children, and
which is
over
amazing.
40 families. It's so amazing. It's just so cool. And I homeschool my children.
How many do you have?
We have 3, I like to say living children, actually.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll talk about that. And Addie is 16, Drew is 14, Brill is 7. So I do that, and I bake on the side.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm always doing something.
Yeah, you are
Not
super
resting.
busy. Very, very full schedule.
Yes. Yeah. But I try to be mindful of what I'm doing too.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm mindful after, like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have taken that on. You know, I think we probably do that.
I think everyone does that. I don't think that's a you problem. I think that's just
I've been really trying to be more mindful about picking certain things up because I don't like to say no.
It's hard, especially when you are capable. Like, that's what I run into.
Mhm.
Things that I'm passionate about. I'm like, I could do this.
Yeah.
But maybe I shouldn't do this in this season. And figuring out that balance of like, when is it okay to step into a place where you're dependent on the Lord to provide what you need so that you can do those things? Because sometimes He does call us to seasons where we're just really busy and dependent on Him. But that's not a rule of thumb or how we should be necessarily living in our lives, because it's not, even the Bible is just so clear about how important rest is and making sure that we're not just doing so much that we're taking our eyes off of the Lord and what He has actually called us to do. And that is something it's hard to figure out the balance of that. And sometimes it is like a post.
Yeah.
You have to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah. It is a hard thing to learn. And then you think you're like, okay, good, I'm resting. And then you'll
get bored.
Get back into the rhythm of things and get busy again. So it is finding the good balance and doing what the Lord wants. I've learned to in the morning pray and just say, okay, Lord, you just direct my day and what needs to be done. I know what I think needs to be done, but you know what needs to be done. And that's been very helpful for me. So even if all the things on the list don't get done, that's okay.
Being okay with that. That's really hard for me.
It is. Well, the Lord directs our day.
He does.
And so it's really just trusting Him with your day because it's all His. We're just here to serve Him.
Right. And that's hard to remember sometimes because we're especially I think in our specific culture here in America, it's just such a do or die. Your success is directly related to what you do and how well you do it and how effective you are and how much you can accomplish in a day. And that's not how the Lord measures success. And so we have to almost relearn what it means to actually be faithful with what He's given us. And that's such a good point to make.
It took me a long time to realize that it didn't matter what my career was. Because when you get out of high school, you're told that you need to find a career. You need to go to college to find some career and do it. Now I'm in my almost mid 40s and I still don't know what career I would choose. I got put into the one that I am now working for Rock School Ministry, which I love because I prayed to work at church, which He abundantly gave that to me in different ways. but I also get to work with friends and just discipling, that process of discipling others. And it's just been really rewarding to me. But just knowing that we're not defined by our careers, that's not, we're here to do what God wants us to do. And so that can change in any season. I'm a mom. That's important. I've had to realize oh, God gave me children for a purpose. And that's the job that I'm doing right now.
Right.
So it's hard to get to those things because when you are constantly thinking, I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life, it's so much pressure.
Yeah.
And it made me feel terrible about myself when I was a young adult. I don't know. It took me probably well into my 30s to realize that I didn't care what other people thought I did for a job. I cared what God wanted for me. So
yeah. It is hard because there is so much pressure on making the right decision and then following through, and the whole how much money it now takes to go to school is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you're putting yourself in debt for 20 years to get a degree that you may or may not use and may or may not need.
Yeah.
And so then you feel like almost enslaved to whatever career that you chose when you were 18.
Right. Because you spent so much money on college. You're like, well, I probably should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something we've tried to tell our children. We want you to be happy. We want you to, find a job that you enjoy, but you don't have to go to college to do that. Neither my husband and I both have not graduated college, actually. We've both taken probably enough credits to have some sort of degree.
Yeah.
He enjoys his job that he does. And he provides enough for us. And we never need to have all of the things. Sometimes are really hard, but we just trust the Lord. And I know it for me to stay home and do the things that I'm doing for our family, that's important. And he provides the rest that we need, the manna for today. And that's great. And so we just try to tell our children that don't feel like you have to determine a career when you get out of high school. Yes, probably have some kind of plan, but if it's not college, that's okay. But what is your plan? And those things can change, as we know.
Yes. Life changes.
Changes.
And when I was 24 and I had 2 kids, toddlers, I was in a car accident that left me completely disabled, with a cane and a walker at 24 years old. And so had I gone to school and had all these things with a career, you just everything would have been gone. I would have had nothing left. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the jobs that I wanted to do when I was younger. And so we don't know what's going to happen in our life. And it's okay to do something for a season and then go where God's leading you if he's leading you somewhere else, or if that opportunity closes or you get into it and you realize this is not what's best for my family or for me. And just being able to trust the leading of the Lord in that and to have contentment in that season. But I think a lot of that, it goes down, it's really a root issue of not rightly understanding as a believer what our purpose is, because we get so wrapped up in, these different areas of our lives almost being separate from our call to being kingdom workers. And so if it might be a job or getting married or having babies or having a retirement fund,
right.
these milestones, this is what defines who I am or how I'm successful. But as a child of God, and if we're living for the Lord, our life really does take a different measurement of success. And there is still, even in churches and in cultures, kind of some of these things that sneak in and lies that we believe, and even ways I think that we communicate with other people when they're telling us what they're doing, and where we can accidentally communicate in a way that isn't necessarily what God's heart is for his people,
We live in such a comparison culture. So it's hard to remember that I'm living for God, I'm living for one, and not comparing ourselves. And I do it all the time. Different things compare oh, they're such a great mom. I'm failing at this. Or, I can't, seem to get a good workout routine in because I'm a failure. That's my big one. But just really just letting the Lord direct your day. I was just thinking about that scripture. We plan our day. The Lord
directs our steps. Yeah, that's in Proverbs.
Yes. I botched that one, but that's the gist of it,
Yeah.
And just remembering that, obviously, it's good to plan. God talks about making sure you plan for seasons, but at the end of the day, just trusting him fully that it's all whatever he decides anyways.
Right. Yeah. We should be wise, like even when we're raising our kids to like
wise
prepare
with
for
your
the
money,
world.
wise with your home, wise with your food, just wise with your daily choices. But when you're doing that, just remembering, am I keeping God at the head of this? And at the end of the day, if it all falls down, am I still gonna
Trust him.
trust God?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. That's really hard to do.
But that's such a big piece because it is that marrying of the two things, which I feel like, and I talk about this so much on this podcast because we have these ideas and theologies, but it's not one way. It's usually almost always this marrying of two ideas. Like, yes, the Lord is a plan, like plans are important. All throughout the Proverbs, it talks about, being diligent and having wisdom, and whether it's your finances or your relationships or how you're going to spend it. I mean, back in biblical times, it was you had to plan your crops and like you had to make stores to store your food. I mean, I think about when Joseph was planning with the Egyptians on like how they were going to get through those 7 years of famine. Like there is absolutely time and place to plan. It's a heart issue that we're really talking about here, because when those things happen, like you get in a car accident and you're disabled and now you can't do what you went to school for, or you find out that you can't carry children, or you find out that you're not going to get married. You're actually going to, God has called you to a life of singleness. Those disappointments and the shame, I think that we sometimes battle because that's what the enemy wants, to keep us in this state of shame. But the Lord, like if we really understand that our life is truly His and He owns our life, and even just as simple as like our days, we don't have to accomplish. It's not about us accomplishing our to-do lists perfectly, completely. If we're living for the Lord, it allows the Holy Spirit to lead those things that we're not even aware of. We don't know what's going to be in our future, but the Lord does. And so there may be things that He closes the door for, doesn't give us a career opportunity, doesn't give us, the ministry, doesn't give us the relationship that we want, because He knows what's in our future and He's actually protecting us.
Yeah. It's good to have those things. I mean, hindsight, disappointments are hard, but they grow us because that humbles us to the Lord's will. And it is a hard thing to learn, but I think that we all need to, and there are certain times, like, because we're human, we think we know what's best, but coming to that point where understanding that God knows what's best and I'm here to live for Him and do what He wants. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. We actually should probably jump back anyway, because you introduced yourself and then we never got to like the whole point of this whole series, which is when did you come to know the Lord?
I think that I always say I was around 4. I remember the exact
we're like
time.
Way back.
Yeah, that's 40 years ago because I'm almost 44.
I would not have guessed that.
Thank you. Great. That always makes me feel better. Yeah, I want to say 4. I was fairly young, but I totally knew. And I actually remember the couple that walked me through that prayer. I'm still friends with them. They were my Sunday school teachers, Kim and Brian. And I do remember that. And I grew up in church. I don't have any I always love hearing people's personal testimonies where they didn't know the Lord at all. And then in adulthood, I just love those redemptive stories. And I have my things. So 4 was when I came to know the Lord. And then I went to public school and I always was a witness. But then I think the older I get, the more probably I was a little bit of a follower in some ways. And I just remember it was after my summer, I had gone to college. So 99. So it was in 2000. I came home and I was asked to work at a kids camp with a Christian kids camp. And I had, in college, there's college stories that, things happen. I just remember helping these kids day to day. And then we're in worship service and I just broke down and I was like, okay, God, I'm yours. This is it. And that was my big turning point, I think, for me. I had always gone to church, always served the Lord, but I was not
You weren't living for Him.
I was not living for Him, for sure. I was definitely doing whatever I wanted, but God was always there. And He totally protected me so many times from so many things. I appreciate that I can look back now and see how He had His hand over my life. So I think I was probably 18, almost 19 when that happened. And then here I am. And there's been a lot of other things that have gone on, but that was my turning point for me.
Where it became real and you were ready to just say, like, Lord, I'm living for You.
It's funny how I was asked to go help these kids and God met me at that kids camp.
Do you know how many stories I've heard where that has been how the Lord has drawn kids and young adults to himself? It's really through that obedience of just serving other people. It's
I was just
so
going to be
cool.
bored all summer. And so I was like, my sister-in-law just asked me to go do that. So it's funny how God works.
Yeah, he
different
knows.
things.
He knows, though, exactly what it's going to take and where he needs to have us to meet us in those places. And he can use even the most wretched of us to still serve other people, which is just amazing. It's so humbling.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, I'm only going to use or allow people who are like this much holy to serve other people. Like he can he uses everything.
We see that so all through the Bible. People that are like a mess. And how he uses them for big things. So it's so amazing, like how he works our story out. That part of when I was a teenager, I actually never ended up going back to college. And that was a really hard season for me. I remember crying about it and thinking, oh, I'm going to get married and blah, blah. And that did happen.
You got married like right after college?
I was 21. I had that turning point in my life, and I went to see a friend of mine. Actually, she's now my mother-in-law, but she had been a youth leader for me for the last few years of my high school life. Once I got my license, I started going to a different church than my parents. I went to my brother's church, and my brother and my mother-in-law, which was not my mother-in-law at the time, but I became friends with her and would hang out with her. And so I remember her being a very big comfort for me. And she's like, well, I have 2 sons, and I had already met her son. I met both of them, but I remember ending up hanging out with my now husband a lot. And we just became friends, and we hung out all the time, and we would talk all the time. And then at some point, it was like late. It was actually Halloween, I think. He IM'd me on AOL.
Now you're really aging yourself.
And he asked me a date, and I was like not interested because I had just knew that I had some relationships in college that were not like, I just want to make sure I was making a good choice, but I gave in, and here we are almost, we got married in 2002. So in October, it'll be 23 years.
That's amazing.
So not what I had planned for sure. But in that season of being like, because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life at 19.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to do. So we got married when I was 21. I had just turned 21. Yeah.
And so what happened after you guys got married? Like, how did the Lord start directing your steps?
I think before we got married, we were youth leaders for the church that we attended at the time. And that was fun. He really enjoys putting all that kind of effort with students and stuff together, games. He's a big game guy. And then we just served in various capacities at our church. We both worked full-time jobs. I just happened to fall into like some jobs at a law office,
a
couple of them. So, that was actually a great experience. It's a lot of admin work, which is what I do a lot of for the church. And we didn't have kids until 2009.
So you had several years, or it's just the two of you?
We did not want children right away. We wanted to have our own time. And then I got pregnant in 2008. I lost that baby. I was supposed to be born in September of 2008. And I lost the baby. And then very early, it was a very early miscarriage. And then I got pregnant with my now 16-year-old, almost 17-year-old daughter. So I had her. And then, do you want me to keep telling you more about my children? Okay. So then 2011, we had Andrew. He was a hard pregnancy. I never had an easy pregnancy.
They were the worst.
Oh, I liked being pregnant.
Same.
But I was at the doctor's all the time.
Yep.
I mean, I had diabetes with Addison. Andrew, I did not have diabetes with, but I can never remember the name of it, but he had one vein, one artery in his umbilical cord, which could have caused birth defects, stillborn, multiple issues. So I was in the doctor's for ultrasounds twice a week with him. Well, a stress test and ultrasound with him. I did not end up being diabetic with him, which was interesting. But I remember the day I had him, I was not intending on having him. And I was watching my cousin's baby at the time, Riley, who is now really close with my children. So it's really cute. I went to the doctors and they're like, well, you're going to have a baby today. I'm like, oh, I am not packed. I'm not ready. It was 3 weeks early because he wouldn't move. He was just chilling in the womb, not moving. And then, so we went and had him. I ended up having an emergency C-section because he was his heart rate kept dropping. So well, you got to have your baby now or something. Well, now I know he probably would have not made it.
Wow.
So him. And then we took quite a while. We had 2 and that was fine. And then I found out I was pregnant in 2015. I think that was the time. And I had a miscarriage. And then
Those are so hard.
it was. They were hard. And then I didn't know that I wanted another baby, so we got pregnant again. And I was pregnant in 2016 with our son Malachi. And it was December 27th. I went in for an ultrasound because I was supposed to be born in January. Actually, I was supposed to be born on Addison's birthday. And he wasn't moving, he didn't have a heartbeat. And that was at 38 weeks. He had
Wow.
I lost a babe. I lost a child, which was different than losing miscarriages, and not to diminish it. They're all very hard.
That is different. You are giving birth to a child you carried for 36 weeks.
Yeah, because those babies I had for like 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And for up to 6 weeks, you really don't know that you're carrying like a baby. So
it's completely
all
different.
hard. It's all hard. That out of those, that was my hardest.
Because that's considered a stillborn.
Yep.
Not
because he was full term.
Yeah.
He was stillborn.
That's when my daughter was delivered at 36 weeks. That is hard.
Yeah. And so I had the choice, like they could just do a C-section or like give birth. And I chose to give birth to him knowing that it was going to be really hard. And so my OB, she was my OB with all of my children and all of my losses. She's been wonderful. She helped me with that. And so that was a hard season for me. And then I wanted to get pregnant again. I don't know what I'm thinking, but here I got pregnant with our daughter, Briella, who is now 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have diabetes with her, actually. And because of losing Malachi, they watched me pretty closely, even though his passing had to do with a knot in his cord. He just got a knot, which is nothing you can do about it.
And
it
you don't even know that it happens
because he was perfectly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't even know it happened. I think hindsight, I knew something wasn't right. More when I looked back on it, I'm like, oh yeah. But it was Christmas time. I wasn't really like watching for sign. Like I never worried about that either. So, making sure watching kick counts and stuff. I didn't really, but I think hindsight, I knew something was not right. So yeah, then I had Briella. I prayed to have another one, and I actually prayed for twins and did not get twins. My sister-in-law actually has twin boys now. She had them about 6 months before I had Briella. That was hard for me to find out that she was having the babies that I was praying for.
Especially after losing.
Yep. I got pregnant with Briella, had her in the day before Mother's Day in 2018. So, and we're done. I mean, I hope we're done. I mean, I have no intentions of having more children because I'm in my mid-40s. So I have all kinds of other, now we're dealing with midlife other issues.
Wow. That is heavy though.
Yeah.
That's a really, really significant. One of my really good friends just lost her baby on birth, giving birth. And that is a hard thing. I had a second trimester loss with twins. I had lost the first one early on. I didn't realize I had been carrying twins. And so they were like, it's gone. They wanted to do a D&C and I said no. And I'm so glad I did, because if they would have taken the live baby at that time. And so I found out, it was almost 6 weeks later, that I was still pregnant. And we got all excited. And then we're like midway through a second trimester and lost the twin as well. And that was hard because I delivered a visible baby, and like seeing, carrying, planning, having the names, like all the things, then going through the labor and delivery. And mine was, again, like it was earlier on, but that is just such a heavy and tragic thing to walk through.
Then to like deal with all your feelings. Like,
do you feel like that really led you questioning God's faithfulness in that season? Or how did you feel like spiritually he was shaping you and using that to draw you to him?
Before I lost him, I was seeing a friend of mine. She's like a coach, like a life coach kind of thing. And I just talked to her more about like, I just want to know God's love more. That's what I want. Like, I don't know. I just needed to know it more. And through that tragedy, I found it. Not that he caused it, he obviously did not cause that to happen. He didn't stop it from happening.
Right.
But I know his plans for my life are bigger than anything I could ever think. And, maybe something was wrong with him, or that's just how things, because we live in a broken world. That's why those things happen, not because God didn't love me any less.
Right.
I mean, we just live in a fallen world and those things happen. He can't like fix everything because that would not accomplish his plans, you know? And so really reconciling that at first, obviously I was very sad. I just remember I was in the ultrasound room by myself. My husband had gone to work and I was like, you don't need to go. I'll be fine. And then after we found out, he had obviously come right over and told me, he's like, something good will come of this. And that is something that I thought about a lot because God's faithful and he has good plans for me. At the time, obviously, I was not thinking any of that. I was just devastated and like wallowing in my misery and also trying to raise 2 other children whose birthdays were coming up. It was a hard January for me. And so I remember being angry at God and just being upset. And then I just came to a point. I think I read through Job, and a friend of mine had given me a devotional about hope that she had used when she had lost her mom, actually. And I read through that, and also just looking up other women, Christian women that had lost children, that I just kind of like, okay, well, how did these ladies deal with this, you know? And then I also read Job. And again, even though I read Job before and it was just like, these friends are terrible of his and this is terrible of this guy just to be going through all these things. But I just realized that with Job, he never stopped loving God, even though he just kept getting like all of these things pummeled at him. And his friends were not super like good advice.
My kids and I actually just finished reading Job together. Okay. Then we're doing the Bible recap. It was really interesting because like I have never read through like commentary on the book, but that's one of my favorite books of the Bible for the same reason. Like it has been the book that I've gone to when the crushing things happen and God allowed it. And he didn't. What's really interesting to me is there's a lot of things that his friends said that are true, but it's mixed with things that are not true.
Well, that's what happens, right?
And that's how the enemy comes at us. He tries to convince us things that are not true about God and things that are not true about our situation or circumstances and distract us from what God is actually doing and accomplishing in us. And it's just so powerful to see how Job was able to grieve those things and to express his feelings. And that's not what even God corrected when he did correct Job's heart posture, you know, and realizing that lament and God's faithfulness and just the mass, like how big he is and how complex the world is and how little we actually understand. It's just so encouraging when you're walking through those seasons where it's just feels so crushing. And you're like, I don't know what I did to deserve this.
Yeah.
Which I mean, really, if you think about what we deserve, it's death.
Yeah.
We always think like, I'm entitled
but why,
to
God?
this.
I'm doing all these things for you. Why did you do this? Like, why did you allow this to happen? And obviously his friends probably meant nothing, but like, I'm trying to help my friend out of this stuff. Like we all do. We want to be there for our friends. It's just making sure.
They came and sat with him for 7 days, not saying a word. That's powerful.
Yes.
That's very powerful.
That's what I've actually said to other people that have experienced loss after me, or like people that are dealing with someone that they know that's lost. I'm like, sometimes it's just best to just sit with those people. Jewish customs, they have like sitting shivas where they literally just sit there and don't say anything. And I actually think that is very powerful because our words can make it break things. And we just have to be careful all the time. And
words don't always fix something.
Sometimes you just want someone there to be with you, to knowing that someone's near.
You know, like when someone tells you some tragedy and we get the sense, I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Right. This is horrible.
And when you don't know what to say,
it's okay
not to say anything because most likely you're going to say something that is not good. Like I know that people said things to me that they meant all the kindest words to me, but there are certain things you shouldn't say to people that have lost someone. Like it's God's will. No, that you shouldn't say that to someone because it's not God's will that my baby died. That God's will was not for that ever to happen. But we live in a broken world. I know they meant no harm for that, but I think it's so important to be wise about what you're saying to someone and just being a comfort for them is a lot more than saying something that might be hurtful. And those people are, I was so sensitive. Like I didn't probably want to hear a lot of comforting words, like that they tried to say, but weren't.
Well, and sometimes it is just awful. And there really is like the comforting words may not be true because we'll say things out of a desire to fix it or make it feel better or more palatable.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just hard. And sometimes there really isn't anything that you can say honestly and truthfully that can even be received in those moments. And so it's better to sit in the sorrow with them, to be able to say like that passage, I can look it up real quick, but where it talks about like weeping, where we mourn with those who mourn and then we rejoice with those who rejoice. There are seasons for everything. I think it's in Ecclesiastes. And there is so much power in that because that's literally, you just like when my friend told me what had happened, like there were no words, just tears. And I am not an emotional person. I've been through things and I know what people might be feeling, but I have a really hard time putting myself in other people's shoes. And so my emotions, I'm just not an emotional person anyway, even for myself. To respond like someone's crying, I'm not sitting here getting teary-eyed. Like I feel in my heart like that goes out to you.
Yeah.
But in that moment, like my close friend has just told me that she has lost something incredibly valuable. What else can you do except to weep with them? And that's enough.
And that's okay.
That's enough.
Yeah. I think that knowing that Job just brought his feelings to God, that made me realize that I can be angry, sure, but not staying in that anger and trusting that God has something else. And just trusting God with my life in general. But I think I probably grew up thinking I couldn't have that like dialogue with God, that I couldn't be upset with something. And so that helped me realize more of his character going through that process. And so I actually I still have, it's almost been 10 years. It's 9 years in December. Decembers are actually hard for me. And I don't mean them to be. It just subconsciously happens. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Some years are better than others. I don't know. I think the more I put my full trust in God's plan for my life and just understanding like, yeah, that did happen, that the years get easier, and it doesn't make it less diminished that it happened, but it's because I have my hope in Jesus. I know that I'll see him again someday. I don't know all the details. I don't know what that'll look like, but for him, it's just like, it's a blink. This has all happened. That was another big point in my life that really drew me closer to God.
That's hard to hear as someone, I think, that's going through something hard, that the Lord will, which is crazy because you want it to be redeemed when you're going through that hard thing. But at the same time, it's like there's a part of us that doesn't want it to be redeemed because it's so hard and it's so awful.
I definitely wanted to sit in my sadness for a while because I could feel it.
Yeah. So the Lord has just been cultivating your heart and really revealing his love and compassion for you, revealing his attributes, which is incredibly important because if we're going to understand the God that we're serving, we have to know his character. We have to know his attributes. And he does sometimes allow or use things. He uses things in our lives to draw us to him, to reveal himself to us.
Yeah.
And it is for his glory and for his good. And it's for our good.
It seems so like, I feel like people use this all the time. Romans 8:28, God works all things together for his good, for those who are called according to his purpose. And he does. He works out these details, like even like he turns beauty from ashes. I always love the scripture in Psalms, like he collects tears in a bottle. Actually, I really have been enjoying studying Jewish culture. I remember studying that at one time, but just knowing that God cares so deeply for me out of the billions of people, that he actually cares for everybody. But just that was a comfort for me, really starting to understand his attributes, like you said, that he cares so much for me, loves me so much, that he wants the best for me. No matter what happens, the tragedies that happen, just fully humbling yourself like, okay, God, you have this no matter what happens. That's been big for me because there's been things that have happened since we lost him. Went through a time the past couple of years ago. Well, I actually just kind of came out of it last fall, just like a really depression state. And I don't know where it came from, but I was not okay. for a long time. Probably no one knew because I hide things pretty well. There's a few of my close friends that knew that I was not okay, but I am good at hiding my feelings. But seeing how God has worked that part of my life too, just trusting Him, it's really it is humbling.
I think it's important to realize too that when He's working all things together, first of all, it's for His good, which is also for our good. Our definition of our good often doesn't align with His definition for our good. And so we might, we do very often approach situations, tragedies, hardships, losses with this lie that God doesn't love us because if He loved us, then He would, and if He's good, then He wouldn't allow these things to happen because our definition of what is good is not in alignment with His. And when we're talking about and reflecting on this idea of, what is God's heart for us? What is good? And we're reading through the New Testament, we're reading through His, the Bible and learning about His attributes, learning about His character and His purpose and His plan and His desire for us as His children. It is to be like Him. He wants us to glorify Him. And we cannot do that apart from the Holy Spirit. We cannot do that apart from the sanctifying work of His Spirit in our lives. It is becoming more and more like Him. And the more we try to equate the worldly things of this world as the fulfillment for our life, as the defining successes, as, our dreams being accomplished, being protected in a way that helps preserve our physical lives, it's actually not what makes us more like Christ. And if He does truly love us and He does really truly want the best for us, He's going to allow those things in our world that keep us from Him to slip away and to be taken away so that we can truly actually become like Christ and know Him, which is the good that He has for us. He is an eternity focus for us, but we don't. So often we just see what's in front of us. We see the things that we don't have, the dreams, what we think are unanswered prayers or blessings on some person that aren't being given to us. So, does that mean that He doesn't love us as much as this person? Why are these blessings being just, not disposed, but with the other word, bestowed upon?
Yes, bestowed. Yes. Yeah.
And that's really hard.
It is
to
hard.
come to terms with. Like my idea of what's good for me is not God's idea for what's good for me. But God's idea of what's good for me is so much better than I can even fathom.
When you really start thinking about that, like what God has for you is better than my plans. I mean, I'm pretty simple. So I don't have a lot of great plans. If I could travel, I probably would do that. If I had a different house, that would be great too. But knowing God's plan ultimately, wow. I mean, He's God. He created the universe. So when you really start humbling yourself to that idea that God's will is better than anything you could even fathom, it's good. And it is a daily thing, really, like submitting your will to His.
And that, I think when you say humbling yourself to that point, that's exactly what it is. We realize more and more as we're walking with Him and as He is creating in us the good work that He's doing in us, we realize how limited we actually are.
Yeah.
How limited our understanding is, how limited our desires are, how limited our ability to even faithfully walk with the Lord is.
So, I don't consider myself prideful, but when you think about things that you try to control, I mean, that's kind of prideful. Thinking you don't need the Lord to help you with these things.
Or that you might know better.
Yeah.
I will catch myself, even now, bargaining with the Lord. And I don't think of it as bargaining, but I'm like, Lord, just please let this thing happen this way. If you would just let this person answer this email and give us this thing, then everything else will work out. I just need that to happen.
You're not the first person to ever do that.
Yeah, I know I'm not.
Gideon, just I'm just going to put this fleece out. Okay. If you just want to if I'll do this, if I just put this fleece out and it is funny. We think we can bargain with the Lord, but sometimes.
And sometimes God responds.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things that I haven't really looked too far into, but yeah.
He's so faithful despite our inadequacies and our poor reasoning skills. And He's just so patient. Even when we reflect back on Job and how God actually responded to him. I mean, he didn't even answer Job's questions. He was just pretty much well, do you actually trust me?
Yeah.
'Cause you're not actually trusting me. And if you can do all the things I can do, then we can have a conversation. But if you can't, then who's actually in charge and knows what's going on and knows what's better? Yeah. And I think so often, those last few chapters of Job are so convicting for me because it reveals, even though Job was righteous, even though Job was not being swayed by his friends, not being convinced of the lies, there was still pride.
Yeah.
And the Lord wanted to continue sanctifying. He allowed what the enemy meant for harm to do good in Job. And the good that it did was to make him humble.
Yeah.
It made him realize actually how human he still was. And that's such an important, like, I think it's so interesting to me because I know like all of us struggle with pride. Pride is really the root of all sin because it's what separates it. We think that we're going to be like God. That's why Eve even took the fruit to begin with. Everything comes back to pride. And I think we just don't realize how much it affects everything in our life. And if we could just see where the pride is, then it would be so much easier for us to see how faithful God is and how good he is to us despite ourselves and despite our own reasoning.
Probably a lifelong thing. Like he'll be sanctifying us until we get to heaven. We'll never be perfect. And yeah, I think the more of those things that you go through, you really just submit more to God. And maybe it's getting older. I don't know. Or growing spiritually.
Yeah,
right.
The
Growing
spiritual
in your faith.
maturity.
Like, okay, really, I'm just here, Lord, to be a vessel for you and to glorify you.
I feel like Shrek so often, like that line from Shrek, Donkey's like talking about how ogres are like layers. And
then,
but that's like, we're not ogres, but
I
mean, we might kind of are.
Yeah.
But there are all these layers, all of these things that the Lord just peels away. And he just keeps taking, yes, that's pride. Let's strip this down more. Like, look, this is actually pride too.
Yeah.
And like, oh, look, this is actually deeper. And every time I think, oh, wow, like I got to this point where I'm like, Lord, you've done the good work in me. You've helped me see this thing. I'm so sorry. Like, please help me too. And then like a month later, he's like, actually, there's like more to this than what you realize.
Yeah.
And he just keeps walking us through those things. The end result, like it doesn't, in cases where we have had huge losses, it doesn't remove the grief of those losses. But there is a deeper love and security that we have in the Lord. Our purpose is more defined. We have more contentment in the seasons of waiting and allowing the Lord to really, truly have our life, to really be able to say like, Lord, you can do what you need to through my life and I will trust you. And when I don't trust you, I know that you're going to help me get back to that point where I can as well.
Yeah.
And we might think that we can trust the Lord great until something hard happens again and we have to like reckon with it again and say like, okay, Lord, like I know I said I'd give you my life, but actually this part is really, really important to me. And so he'll just keep kind of peeling those things back in a way. And there is so much joy and reward as he gets through each of those layers and keeps revealing his attributes, keeps revealing his character. I just feel like our walk with him becomes so much richer and our life becomes so much more meaningful. And that's what I wish people could see when they're going through that really hard thing. Like, this is so hard, but there is light on the other side. You are going to experience or have the potential to know God on a deeper level, to see his goodness and his faithfulness. That surrender, that humility, if you can just get to that point, walk through that grief.
I know what it is. It's even if, these things happen. And I'm trying to remember.
In Daniel?
Yes, I think so.
For Esther?
Let's look.
I think it's Daniel. This is where I don't like ChatGPT or AI. I really actually abhor it. But that was a big word to use for that. But I have really strong feelings about it. But it is helpful in things like this. It is Daniel.
I was at a concert. I think it was Mercy Me.
Daniel 3.
So just getting to that point, like even if Lord, can you read that actually?
Yeah, I'm going to read that right now. It's Daniel 3. Daniel 3, 16 through 18. Because this is such a beautiful passage. I actually have a sweatshirt with this. And I've never seen it on a shirt before, but this is such a powerful moment. So to set the scene a little bit, this particular story is about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were told to bow down and to serve them, to bow down and worship. And they refused to because they don't bow down and worship the idol, only their God. And Nebuchadnezzar, who was the king at this time, was angry and said that they were going to be thrown into the furnace. The three men responded that they had said to Nebuchadnezzar, "Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, We have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O Lord. But even if not, we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. And that is so powerful. God can do anything.
Yeah.
He can raise the dead. He can heal sickness and diseases. He can stop the financial upheaval in your life with a flick of a switch. Yeah. Like I said, flick of a switch, but I'm snapping my fingers.
I know what you mean.
But even if he doesn't, is he still God?
Yeah. And now we know what happened after that. That, even if, because they got put in the furnace and God was with them. He's always with us. We tend to forget because we try to control everything that God is in these situations with us. We just have to remember that we should walk with him. I always, in my prayers, I try to just hold my hand, Lord, just lead me, where you want me to go. Because literally, I don't know. I'm a lost sheep. I don't know which way I should go. Some days I think I'm doing okay. But I get to hold my Father's hand and just go where he wants me to go.
Right.
So that was a big scripture for me and story that I think also at some point after losing our son helped me just okay, really, I control nothing. I did not realize I was a control person until a few years ago, actually, but I like to control things. So it's realizing that I'm actually in control of nothing. So
yeah, we have far less control than I think we realize that we do.
It's silly.
Even over where we should go, how quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lord could say no, and our car won't start,
Oh my word. I've had so many things happen the past few months where things have broken, and we live on a very limited income and we're working through some financial things, and the Lord just keeps blessing me and I don't know how to take it, and people are blessing us and I don't know how to take it because I don't deserve it. That's what I keep saying. I don't deserve any of this, but for some reason God wants to help me because he loves me so much, even though I'm I didn't save for these car repairs. I got to live with that. I need to make this, figure it out. But he already figured it out for me. And that doesn't always happen. We might have to wait months for things to work itself out, or years, or maybe a lifetime. But trusting the Lord with that. I just remember this last thing that happened. We had our washer break, and I just felt like the Lord was just saying, just wait. I wasn't worried about it, which was really weird for me. There's 5 of us in our house, and
that's a lot of laundry.
That's a lot of laundry. And my 7-year-old changes her clothes multiple times a day.
I have that one too.
Oh my word. I was okay, well, all I could think about, I guess if we have to go to the laundromat, we'll figure that out, and I'll just have dates at the laundromat with my husband. So I just figuring it out, and then the Lord worked it out for us. So it's silly things like getting a washer, but he knew that we needed it and he worked it out. But it was coming to the point where accepting that was hard for me because I love to give to others. I don't do it intentionally. I always am there to serve other people. It's just something I do. And I don't, like I said, I don't do it intentionally. That's just my life. So when people give back to me, I'm what is going on?
It's uncomfortable.
Here? It is uncomfortable. Yeah. And I was let's not talk about this ever again.
Yeah. It's pride, though. Root of it is
really
pride.
Is. So
I'm say that because I have the same exact problem. My husband and I have a very limited income as well. And we have had people provide things for us. And there was no way we could repay it back.
Yeah.
And we just had to accept it.
Yeah. And on the other hand, it just makes me want to be better with, which we definitely have been the past few years, trying to be better with our stewarding our finances, but it's a process. And so things like this, I'm I want to be I want to do that for other people when I can, because money's money.
Yeah.
We can't take it with us. It's good to plan ahead for car repairs or broken appliances, but I'm not able to do that right now.
Right.
And so just trusting the Lord with every day for all of those things.
Trusting him as our provider, not just spiritually and in the seasons of hardship, emotionally, but physically. He is literally our provider in every single area of our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that can be hard to accept.
Yeah.
Because it's physical.
Yeah.
And that we want to control what we can control. And, we may get to the point where we're okay, I can't control the spiritual things, but I can control this. And oftentimes those are going to be the things that the Lord's okay, well, you need to learn.
Yeah.
You actually have zero control, and you have to be fully dependent on me. And I'm actually really thankful that the Lord has taken us through that because I am a control person too. And I have all of the feelings about like, we should be able to do this on our own. And I'm responsible enough, or I do all the right things, then this won't happen.
Right.
But sometimes it does still just happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are just completely out of your control and you just have to trust the Lord as a provider and trust how he does it, and to have enough humility to respond graciously in the midst of those provisions.
It is those little things, like it's different parts of our life where we think we can control things, but it's all of the part that I'm yours, Lord. All of the things. So I know there's different areas of my life where he's working things out constantly. Thankfully, he is, because it's kind of weird when things are just going good. It's not weird, but like I think, okay, things are going good. What's next? But it's really just knowing that God's with me every day, walking me through the day, and just trusting him for whatever is happening. Yeah. I mean, we're parents, we're raising children. Some children are harder to raise than others.
Yeah. And you can't control them. You can teach them, you can discipline them, you can instruct them, disciple them. But at the end of the day, they're their own people. Yeah. And you have so little control over them. That's terrifying.
This is a working battle, I guess. But I know the Lord gave me this one. He gave all of them to me on purpose, but I keep thinking, okay, how can I be better as a mom, more godly mother, putting a guard over my mouth, things like that. Maybe this child needs me to respond differently than I would of my other two children. Maybe there's things that are working out in me in this whole ordeal. I don't know. It's definitely a different personality type than mine.
That is a challenge. Definitely a challenge. My oldest is very similar to me in how she thinks and processes. That's my next
too.
one. No, I do not understand her. She's a lot like her dad, which is helpful because
the second is like his father.
That's a little, because then I can be like, okay, I can ask questions.
Yes,
and and then we have others. I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin with you.
It's the youngest. I'm just like, okay, you are a lot different than the other two.
But God will still provide.
Yes. So I'm trying to really trust that he knows what's best for her, even though I keep failing every day. I feel like I am. But then I'll see glimmers of like, okay, that's working.
Well, and despite that, God can actually use our failures to produce what he wants in our kids too.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to accept also.
And I try to see those things that like not as like, these are really bad things. I mean, I try to see, okay, how can God work this out in her life for something different? Like maybe she's a strong leader. We just got to work out the sinfulness of that, because we're all born into sin. So things like that, it would just working her out to love God. That's what I want for my kids. Like, they don't even have to be super smart. If they love Jesus and walk away in their life loving Jesus and being good disciples, I think I did my job.
Yeah.
So I have to remember that.
Or God did his job. Like God did it through you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. 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 We're stewards. And that's the other thing I've had to remember too. It's like, I keep thinking these are my children. They're actually not my children.
Right.
They're the Lord's children that he has given me for a season to steward. And that's a big job. But it also, there's a little bit of the pressure, the weight of that, I think is elevated slightly. If you can just like, oh, they're his.
This isn't all up to me.
It's not me or my husband. And he's going to provide in other ways beyond me and my husband. Yeah. And he knows what they need. He knows the year that they were born. He knows what culture they were born into. He knows what things that they're going to have to face that I can't protect them from. And he's going to use all of those things for good, even if it's, I can't protect them from myself.
Yeah.
Like
it is so, I feel like I keep using this word, but humbling, like trusting, like God knows what's best for my children more than I do.
Right.
I mean, we say that like God knows what's best for my life, but these are my kids. I bore them, like really submitting that he knows what's best no matter what happens. That's a hard thing to come to terms with because they're going to grow up.
And not even when they're growing up, but they can face things even when they're not grown up that are outside of your control. They can have health issues. They can have other things socially, economically that they are facing that are outside of our control that we can't protect them from. It's not even always just when they leave the house or grow up and we can't protect them. Like sometimes we can't even protect them in their own little bubble that we have them in. And being able to surrender that trust the Lord actually helps us to be better parents because we're not putting pressures on them that they can't meet. Yeah. And we're not putting pressures on ourselves that we can't meet.
I try to remind myself that God gave me these children, me specifically, these children to take care of. He knows what I'm equipped with, what all of the things I need to be their mom. I forget that when I'm failing, when I'm yelling, because I do that sometimes. I don't love to admit it, but
all of us yell at our kids.
I feel
sometimes.
terrible that I do it, but that's my human side that sometimes comes out. Just remember that God gave me them and He already knows what I need. I just trusting Him with the tools that He's given me to parent them. And maybe He'll give me like some extra things along the way to do the job.
I mean, like I even think back, like my oldest is going to be 12 this year. And I have learned things and been through things that have put me in a position where I can actually parent her better. I didn't have those things when I started parenting her, but God also knew that. He knew where I would be when she was 12. He knows where I'm going to be when she's 16, 18, 25. And He has, like, all of that is already, He's already figured that all out.
Yes.
And going back to Job, I feel like I'm like stumbling over my words. But in Job, like that's what you see. Like he knows when the animals are going to give birth to their babies. He knows all of the timelines of everything. Yeah. And so we think
it's one of my most favorite things about the Bible. It's in Esther, like where, what is his name?
Oh, you weren't born. You were born for a time such as this.
No, it's the part where, what's his name?
Malachi?
Esther.
Mordecai?
Mordecai. That's his name. Okay. He finds a scroll from years ago to help the people. And you see that through the Bible. Like God has already put these things in place to help His people. And He does that in our life. Like He might have had something happen 10 years ago that we don't even think about anymore, but something could happen in 20 years that would help us from that situation. Like I know that my college situation where I didn't go back to college, I found out fairly early on, like there was a purpose for me not going back to college. God, that's not where God wanted me. That was not a good space for me. It was not where He wanted me. And I saw that after I went through the heartache of not being able to go back. I see where He's worked. And when we lost Malachi, I always think about where my husband says, something good will come of this. I've been able to share our grief story with other people, the hope that we have. And people are always like, I don't know how you can do that. Well, I have Jesus. Yeah. If I didn't have Jesus, I actually don't know if I would be around, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
same. I relate with that.
I mean, it was a hard thing. And so I know without Jesus, I probably would not be here. So it's neat that He takes care of all the little details in our life and ordains all those things for us.
Yeah. Going back to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they're facing the furnace and their response is, we're going to go into this and I know that God will deliver us. But even if He doesn't, they're still going to choose to worship the Lord. What is so often missing, I feel like sometimes in our faith when we're in those situations, is not just that God delivers us, which is amazing, but it's the choice that we're making internally to say, I know that God is going to do the thing. He's going to deliver us. He's going to keep us safe. But even if He doesn't, I'm making the conscious choice to say, I am still going to worship God. And that really changes our perspective and our motivation when we're walking through those hard things, to be able to say, I know He's capable, but even if He doesn't, I'm still going to make that choice, that conscious decision to trust You, to walk with You, even if all the pieces don't work out together, even if you don't raise the dead, even if you don't work all the details out with the washing machine perfectly. I know that You're faithful and You are worthy of my praise. You are worthy of my worship. You are worthy of my trust, even if I can't fully comprehend why You're not answering a prayer or leading me.
And that's the thing, like fully comprehending. There's so many times I still don't always understand everything. And I've been a Christian since I was 4, but really like the 15, I don't know, 10 years even. I just feel like my faith has grown so much. But even when I don't understand all of God's attributes and all of the things, it's trusting that I know God's good. And that's it. He wants good for me. Just following Him, because it's either me trying to control it all or let somebody else do it for me. And He wants to take care of me.
Yeah. And He does it better.
He does way better.
Well, this has been so encouraging and such a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Grace Raised podcast. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this conversation. As a crowd-funded project, we rely on your reviews, subscriptions, and help to share this ministry with others. If you were blessed by this episode, please consider subscribing to the show or leave us a review wherever you listen. If you would like to share your story, you can submit a request at our website at thegraceraisedpodcast.com/contact us, or send us an email at thegraceraisedpodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to donate or help support the ministry, you can click the donate link in the show notes or go to graceraisedpodcast.com/donate. As always, we are so thankful that you are here and pray that the Lord will continue the good work he has begun in you. Grace be with you all.